Hi, I'm Rayma.
And I'm Andrea.
And this is Mile High Murder. We are just slightly obsessed with true crime. We text each other when new missing persons cases are unfolding. We add each other to Facebook sleuth groups and definitely feel like we have solved the cases before anyone else. We aren't creepy, I promise.
I'm sorry. That was dumb.
It's fine, I'm just gonna laugh.
I'm ready, sorry.
Hey guys, we're back.
Yay!
Finally.
Seriously. I've missed you.
I know.
I miss doing these. These are really fun.
Yeah. We've been a little crazy busy
Yeah.
with the fall.
I'm over being busy.
Yeah. But hey, we're on the other end of it. And here we are.
Yeah.
Recording for you guys.
And we have really good stories for you.
Yeah, we do. I'm really, actually, this case that Andrea is about to do, because she told me which one, the name, it's one of the first cases we actually found when we were looking into doing this.
It's pretty well known.
Yeah.
And especially in Colorado.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't know anything about it.
There's not, if you just read what is the FBI page?
The cold case.
Mm-hmm, the cold case page.
Yeah, CBI.
CBI, yeah. The CBI cold case page, they, barely have any information on it at all. So if that's all you read, then there's just nothing. But if you dive deep, you can find other stuff, and it is crazy.
You can. And this was an accident because I just stumbled on a podcast called The Vanished, which is super good. And now I'm deep into all of her podcasts, or all of her episodes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is that name. We have this kid on our list. So then I was like, okay, I'm here for it. I'm hooked.
Yeah. And it's a good podcast too, because this particular one, she interviews a relative.
Yeah.
So
she always has good interviews, which I'm like, man, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So you know that it's, good information.
Totally.
Okay. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So this is the disappearance of Christopher Abeyta out of Colorado Springs. And my sources, like I said, amazing podcast, The Vanished. I will have it linked in the show notes because it's a 2-parter. It's super, super good. And you should go listen to, it's the sister of Christopher. Her name is Denise, and it's so good. And then the Denver Post, again with Kirk Mitchell, he's got his eye on the ball with having this great timeline. Totally. I love it. And then a KKTV article. So good stuff. You can go read. All of it will be linked. So here we go. On July 15th, 1986, the Abeyta family put 7-month-old Christopher to bed for the evening. His crib was actually at the foot of his parents' bed, which I was like, man, how do you sleep? I could not do that.
What do you mean? Did you never have your kids in your room with you?
No, I did. And we actually had the twins in there.
To your bed or what?
Well, I don't know. With Maddie, when she was really little, we would put her pack and play in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
With the fan on,
Uh-huh.
Anyway, sorry. Okay, so just before 9 a.m., his mom, Bernice, gets up to feed him because usually he would get up about midnight to take a bottle, and then she'd put him back to sleep, and then he'd wake up for morning snuggles.
Oh.
So that night they put him down they went to bed around 12:30. And then just before 6 a.m., Bernice gets up to feed him, but she finds that Christopher isn't in his crib. And so she's starting to panic because she's
I would be freaking out.
However, what I will tell you is that he is the 7th child of theirs. There are 6 siblings.
Okay.
So you're like, well, okay, maybe somebody else has him. Maybe he started making noise and I didn't hear him and his sister has him or whatever.
So maybe you wouldn't immediately panic. You think someone else grabbed him.
Right. So she is running from room to room, trying to figure out what happens. And, starting to get a little that shrill, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, Christopher, where is he? And they head downstairs. And as they get downstairs, they see that the front door is wide open.
Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh. Christopher was nowhere to be found.
I cannot imagine.
Nope.
I can't imagine.
Nope. And I don't like to do kid cases.
Yeah.
For this reason, because I'm like, the panic rising up inside of me, So as always, the family has a couple of secrets that are going to start to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Abeytas lived in a quiet, safe neighborhood in Colorado Springs, and this is the 80s, so nobody is locking their doors. You know, they've got kids ranging from, Christopher is the youngest at 7 months old, and then their oldest was 23.
Whoa. So
it's
he was like
big,
a surprise baby.
Maybe. I mean, and the other one, the next one up, you know?
Yeah. The second to
youngest was a year and a half. So
okay, so not that,
like, they're pretty spread out. Yeah. So he, like I said, he was the baby. And actually in that year, Gil, his dad, was actually living with one of the older siblings because he and his wife were kind of on the outs.
Okay.
So it was kind of there was a slight dysfunction there.
Yeah.
Some things going on that we'll get into.
They were like kind of separated a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that was in March of 1986, that he moved out, and in with one of his older kids. And then sometime in July, they started to reconcile. And so he actually moved back into the house, then the day, before Christopher was taken. So they also,
so that was his first night
back
at the house.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Very interesting.
Coinky dink. So one of Christopher's older sisters, Tabitha, was actually sleeping at a friend's house. So they called, the mom called Tabitha, like whatever house they were at or whatever.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, by any chance, did you happen to come get Christopher out of his crib and like take him to get a donut or whatever? And she's like, no. And so she hangs up the phone and starts panicking, and they call 911 because they've exhausted all of their
my
siblings.
Baby is not in the crib and nobody has him, and the door was wide open. Yep. 911.
Yeah. So the police come to the house and they immediately separate the family. Thank God, because I've heard of many cases where they don't separate people, like to question them, and then it's all muddled. But so they, of course, are like, it was obviously somebody in the family or whatever.
The police think that.
Yes. And through the course of interviewing the family, they take Gil aside and he's like, okay, let me just tell you now, it's going to come out, but I've been having an affair with a woman named Emma Bradshaw.
Okay.
And then...
I mean, so was he... do we know if he ended the affair before he moved in, or... do we know anything about
yes,
that?
I do know things about it.
Okay, we'll get into that later.
So then, according to this article in the Denver Post, quote, in the days leading up to Christopher's disappearance, the Abeytas were getting hang-up calls every day. The calls continued up to and including the day before Christopher vanished. And that was the day that Gil, like I said, reconciled with Bernice and returned home. The day Christopher disappeared, the hang-up calls stopped.
Okay, that's
creepy.
Super creepy. And what the heck?
But what the heck? And actually months later, they began again. So over the course of this time, they really think that it's the family. Like, the police are honing in on the family. They don't think that there's anybody else. Of course, the family is like, could it possibly be this woman who's been having an affair with my husband?
Yeah.
And so
this poor woman.
What poor woman?
The mom.
Oh, the mom. Yeah.
I thought you meant no, not
Bradshaw.
Her.
I was like,
because her baby goes missing, and then she finds out her husband had an affair, like, all at the same time.
Well, I think
Maybe she knew. Okay.
That's why they were separated, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You know. You never know.
That would be a little bit better, but still.
Right. So, like I said, months later, these phone calls start again. Okay. And so they actually, they start tracing the phone calls, thank God. And they find out that the calls are coming from Bradshaw's place of work. But she says, it's no big deal. Like, that's how I get Gil to call me. Like, I just call and hang up.
But he wasn't living there.
No, good point. He wasn't. But he was after.
Yeah, but not. Okay, well, yeah.
So maybe
after,
that was
originally.
after, but it wasn't her in the beginning. You know, like, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So dumb. So they start interrogating the family, like, more intensely, and they give them polygraphs. Well, Bernice fails 2 polygraphs. But I'm like, you know what? If my baby's missing, I'm probably not going to be, like...
sane at all.
Nope.
I'm going to be a little bit crazy.
Absolutely. And that is
be
completely called for.
Totally.
Yeah, that's fine.
Plus, I mean, just don't take a polygraph test. But...
right.
They're inadmissible in court.
In court anyway, yeah. So, exactly. They're dumb.
Why? That
don't
doesn't
take
mean
it.
Anything.
No. So they during the course of this interview with Bernice, they start pointing out the fact that when they go into the house to look at the quote crime scene, it's his crib. And then obviously, like I said, he's in their bedroom. One of the dresser drawers was pulled out. Well, Denise talks about that in the Vanished podcast and said that after they called the police, she was like, Mom, you need to go get dressed. The police are on their way. And so she pulled it out, but it came all the way out onto the floor. And so they were saying it looked like a scuffle had happened. But I'm like, how do you have a scuffle with a 7-month-old?
Yeah, for real.
What are you talking about?
Especially in the middle of the night when they're sleeping. Like,
exactly.
Chances are they didn't ever wake up.
That seems a little weird. And so they're saying like, you know, you wanted something from your husband, or maybe you wanted to get lucky that night or whatever, and he was the problem, so you got rid of your baby. And I'm like, okay. So because the police were so honed in on the family, Bernice and the rest of the family just decided to go at this like
on their
grassroots.
Own.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's so great because in the Vanished podcast, Denise talks about all these little like amateur sleuth missions that they went on. So I'm going to tell you about a couple of them because I thought they were super funny. So Bernice would actually, okay, so the day, this is weird, but the day that Christopher was taken, she was at the grocery store and Christopher was with her and he was, you know, in the front seat of the cart or whatever. And she felt like somebody was watching her. And I was like, it's Emma Bradshaw. But she says that she like starts, you know, kind of moving around to see if this lady will follow her or whatever. And at one point she finally just turns around to say, can I help you like find something? And Denise says that the woman just had kind of a stern look on her face and nothing in her cart. And so Bernice turns back around and just is like, whatever. But because it coincided with the day that he went missing, she thought maybe there's something to that. Like maybe, maybe I'll see her again if we sit in this parking lot and wait for her to come out, which I thought was so funny. She's just like, whatever, I'm gonna, like whatever you can think of, like we're going to try it. So then there was another case where they had friends of friends that came over and needed to use their phone at one point. And so she actually traces like where they live and she takes her daughter Denise in the car, gets a pizza and makes her pretend like she's delivering a pizza, but she's delivering it to the wrong house just in case maybe there happens to be baby stuff inside and they can figure like it's just
if like
maybe he's here.
Him. Yeah.
It was awesome.
I mean, she obviously really loved, it's your kid, but
of course.
She really loved him and she was trying everything she could think of to
because
try and get him back.
She wasn't getting the help that she needed. Like they were getting tips and leads, but they weren't really going anywhere. And they really firmly believed that it was a member of the family who had done something to him. So then this is so cool. Months after his disappearance, Bernice loaded up their car with various children. They had a few to choose from. And they drove to major newspapers around the country and begged them to put Christopher's picture in their newspaper.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. So Denise says in that podcast that she would load up a tent in their car and they would just drive around to like major cities so that everybody would, you know, see.
Aww.
I know. All for your little baby.
Yeah.
So, and this is 86. So it's just like, they're so far like in the dark with, there's no DNA, there's no fingerprints there. I mean, there's fingerprints, but, and all of that stuff is in its infant stage. Right. And then there's no internet. So she's doing all of this sleuth work.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Like hardcore. Going to newspapers, going to the library, like microfiche stuff. Crazy. She's awesome. So the leads and tips eventually go cold and there's just no sign. There's nothing. Somebody just walked in their house and took him.
Sad.
Yep. But the whole family really believed that it was Emma Bradshaw that had taken him.
I mean, I believe maybe that could be a possibility.
I mean, maybe. I get it.
I get why they believe that.
So Bernice actually asks her husband, Gil, to go and speak to Bradshaw to try and get more information out of her because maybe she knows something. And she tells them that she was, quote, given information that someone in New Mexico knew where Christopher was. And so Dad and one of the kids loads up and they drive to New Mexico to meet this, like, she called him like a Mexican witch doctor. But it was like, well, I think maybe he's somewhere in Texas with someone. And it's like, okay.
So like he was like almost like a tarot card or like a...
That's what I think of when I think of witch doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was giving them this information. And,
right. Yeah. And of course, like, you're going to chase down everything that could possibly be, like, even if it's a total crackpot, like,
but
you're going.
Like, why would you listen to her?
I don't know. Of
course she's going to be like, it wasn't me.
Well, I think because they think she had something to do with it.
So maybe okay. I guess that makes sense. Like,
if you think she's,
or took him.
Yeah. So then Bernice starts digging again, and she finds out that Emma Bradshaw has had multiple affairs that have gone sideways. And she would actually break into the boyfriend or whatever's homes, steal things, and then actually once threatened one of her lover's children. Yeah.
Oh, man.
She's quite the character. So they believe that she was the main suspect, but there wasn't enough evidence. I mean, there was like no evidence to nail her.
So at this point, though, is it just the family thinking this and the police are like not even?
Yes.
Man.
Yes. So then fast forward the sex to 2006.
Whoa.
They find out that the evidence in Christopher's case was accidentally destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
Yep. But then after that, according to the Denver Post, Denise started investigating on her own in 2009, and she just went after Emma Bradshaw. So there's like a huge lawsuit out. I'm actually not sure if it's resolved yet or not, but according to Emma Bradshaw, she actually filed the lawsuit against the family, saying that her, quote, life was turned upside down by what she called outrageous lies. And she says, this is where your mouth is gonna drop open. She and Gil continued their affair for 22 years after Christopher was taken. Yep. And she says that they saw each other multiple times a week and went on trips together.
So what does Denise have to say about that? Do you know?
Gil says that that's not true.
Okay.
And it, I don't know who to believe.
Right.
Because he was having an affair with her.
Right. But so it seemed like he was trying to end it, and then that's why all this happened.
I mean, maybe that's why. I mean, he had told her initially that he was going to leave his wife, but then he wound up going back to his wife. So who knows? She also claimed in the lawsuit that in 2008, they started this Facebook page to help find Christopher. And she said that it was basically a smear campaign and that they called her the main suspect and blah, 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 blah. So she filed a lawsuit against them citing defamation of character. And this included, she alleges that Denise sent an email to her boss, Bradshaw's boss, calling her the kidnapper and saying that it led to her being fired.
Okay.
But that, of course, they're like, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe her, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like everything points to her. So I just don't know why the police aren't thinking that.
I don't know. I mean, there's no evidence. I guess that's probably part of it. Is that,
yeah, there's no evidence to go off of. They can't even do DNA now.
No. Everything, yeah. I mean, I'm guessing anything that was in his crib, like his blanket or whatever, like it's probably gone.
Oh, makes me so sad.
I know.
I can't even handle it.
Nope.
That poor boy.
Okay.
Yeah. So tell me.
Okay, I'm going to finish up and then we can talk about what we think happened.
Okay.
Sadly, Bernice Abeyta succumbed to cancer in 2017 and she died without answers, which I'm like, oh my gosh, her son was kidnapped, and she has to get cancer.
Yeah. That's so
cruel
sad.
World. She and Gil believed that Christopher was actually given to another family and that he is alive.
Okay. That's crazy that they believe he's been alive this whole time.
Okay, hold on. As recent as this February in 2019, 3 men actually came forward believing that they could be Christopher Abeyta, but the DNA proved that they weren't.
Do you think they actually thought that? Or they're just...
I don't know.
I don't know. If you're like, I think I might be this missing baby.
I mean, if there's something about your circumstance that is a little wonky,
yeah,
I could see why you would think that.
You grew up in foster care and you don't know where your parents are. Yeah.
But after 33 years, Christopher's case remains open and unsolved.
33 years. That's crazy.
So I think I think that woman was an absolute whack job. And if she did it, I don't think that she, I was going to say, I don't think that she would kill him, but.
You don't think that she killed him. You think he'd still be alive.
I wonder if it was, I mean, I think there's a good possibility he's still alive, but he doesn't know that he doesn't know he was adopted or whatever, or bought. Like maybe it was like a black market purchase.
I mean, who knows? That's crazy. I don't know, because I mean, if you're going to go as
he
low,
was dead.
But if you're going to go as low as kidnapping a baby out of his parents' room in his crib, like what says you're not going to?
Oh, absolutely.
Also murder him,
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I'm sure that they like hopeful thinking he's alive because they want to believe he can live a happy life, but
totally.
So I wonder if a parent could ever. I don't know. I guess I have also heard that they get like a gut instinct, like something is terribly wrong, and they just kind of know.
Yeah.
So
I think I read somewhere that they never actually like went and searched her apartment. Like they went and talked to her, but they didn't go in. And so, I mean,
he could have been in there.
She could have killed him, and maybe it was in there, and
or she could have had him in there until she figured out what to do with him.
Right.
But I feel like, I mean, I have so many questions. Did she miss work around that time? Did she, I mean, it's going to take time to figure out what to do with a 7-month-old.
Yep. And it sucks because it was the 80s. So it was just like, they just weren't you can't necessarily get away with that anymore.
Right. It looks different nowadays.
It's so different. I mean, you can, but
it's different.
Mostly not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I just feel so bad for them.
I know.
And their whole family took basically all their lives from that
road trip
point. Yeah, they went all over the place just to look for him. So. Yeah.
And his sister is obviously like dedicated to figuring out what happened.
How old was she when he was taken?
15.
Okay.
And she was the one, like, it's really sad to listen because she was the one who like rocked him to sleep that night with his bottle and put him in the crib. And so, survivor's guilt is just it's got to be awful for her.
Oh.
But I'm like, dude, how would you, like, that woman had to be crazy, or whoever it is. Let's play devil's advocate here. Whoever took
kidnapped
him.
This child.
Like, to go in the house, walk upstairs, and go into their bedroom and quietly pick him up. Like, holy crap. Ugh. That's so crazy.
Ugh. It creeps me out so much.
I'm like, thank God for my ring.
Right. Seriously.
But they kept their doors open or unlocked because they had teenage kids who would come in and out. And it was the 80s and it was safe. And they were in a safe neighborhood.
That creeps me out. I wonder if she ever went in there before that.
I don't know. I mean, if she was breaking into...
or whoever it was, I'm sorry. It might not be her.
Correct. But in that thing, they were alleging that she had, she had a bit of a rap sheet with the old boyfriends or whatever, like sneaking or, breaking into their apartments and stuff. So what's to say she didn't get in there?
Yeah.
And if she knows that the doors are unlocked.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Like, she maybe already tried and then knew that they were unlocked. So I was like, oh,
yeah,
I can just go in.
Crazy story, eh?
Crazy. So crazy.
Thanks for joining us every Wednesday for a new case, guys. If you are a fan of Mile High Murder, consider subscribing and writing a review and sharing with your friends. You can also follow us on Instagram at Mile High Murder Podcast or search for our discussion group on Facebook. We're always searching for Colorado cases to cover. If you have a case you're dying for us to share, send us an email at milehighmurderpodcast@gmail.com.